Hi, curious people. Welcome to Curious People Wanted, a program by the Barnum Museum in Bridgeport, Connecticut. My name is Adrienne Saint-Pierre, and I have the pleasure of being the curator here at the Barnum Museum. One of the things I like best about my job is getting to know the artifacts in the collection and their many interesting stories and discovering them and doing a little research on them. And best of all, now I get to share some of those stories with you through this video series. We'd love to have you as a subscriber to our YouTube channel, so please, if you would, and also if you'd like notifications of future programs, don't forget to click on that little bell icon. So with that, let me start with today's stories. I'm going to be talking about two objects in our collection, a centaur and a mermaid. It's kind of like Lewis Carroll's poem, The Walrus and the Carpenter, so maybe this will be a little bit of that kind of narrative. When visitors come to the Barnum Museum, many of them seem to have heard of the Feejee Mermaid. And they say, oh yeah, that was a hoax, Barnum. He's a scam. And he made people believe they were going to see this beautiful mermaid woman in the museum. And in fact, it was a hideous creature. Well, we have a way we like to share the story and help people understand what it was like for the visitors to Barnum's American Museum in New York City. Now, the Feejee Mermaid was the first humbug, as we call it, not a hoax. A humbug is done in the spirit of fun. So the Feejee Mermaid was the first humbug when Barnum became the proprietor of the American Museum. We actually have a replica of that Feejee Mermaid. I don't think the original exists anymore, but this very faithful copy was made some years ago for a TV documentary. And the artist copied it from an illustration in P.T. Barnum's autobiography. So now let me share a little bit about another object in our collection. We've only had it a few years, but we kind of connect the story to the mermaid story when our visitors come in. So let me introduce you to Phil. This is just our nickname for him, a centaur, half man, half horse, right? Well, the gentleman offered this centaur to us just a few years ago, and one winter day, an enormous wooden crate arrived at the museum. Inside, of course, was this case with the centaur. Well, we decided at the time it might be wise to hold off displaying him for a bit, and we picked just the right day, we thought, to introduce Phil to the public. So we planned a media gathering for April 1st, and the members of the press were invited. We had the mayor of Bridgeport, we had the state archaeologist, we had a couple of professors from Quinnipiac University, and basically our gallery was packed with people, and the curtains were drawn. So this was a big unveiling of our newest artifact in the collection. We call him Phil as a nickname, but his actual name is the Centaur of Tymfi. And when we had our reveal, I have to say the people were just bowled over. They never expected a centaur to appear in the Barnum Museum in Bridgeport, but we think he's really a perfect artifact for us. And I'll tell you why. To precede sharing the story of the Feejee Mermaid, we like people to come and stand and take a look at our centaur. Now, why? Of course, he's big and obvious, but people look closely and they say, yeah, that's real bone, that's a skeleton. And it's a human skull, a human torso, and a horse-like body. And here's a whole story about where this centaur was found, and another little story about another centaur being dug up and unearthed, and he's now displayed at another museum. So maybe I missed something in school. Maybe centaurs really did live. So they have this moment where they're hovering on trying to decide whether this centaur is real or not. So having had that little experience, we take them back to the Feejee Mermaid and tell them that what they experienced looking at the centaur might be like what Barnum's visitors to his museum thought when they saw this Feejee mermaid. Of course, this is like an animal, half monkey, half fish, not a human type mermaid. And I like to provide a little context for the time. In the 1700s and 1800s in particular, many discoveries of new species of animals and plants were being found in the remote regions of the world. So, for example, if you lived on any other continent but the Australian continent, you had never seen a platypus. And the idea of this animal that had a big duck bill and a body sort of like an otter would seem odd. I mean, it just wouldn't seem possible. Actually, Barnum was showing a stuffed platypus in his museum at the same time he was showing the Feejee mermaid. And so people thought, well, I don't know, this platypus, it doesn't seem possible it could be real, and maybe this isn't either. Conversely, people might say, oh, a platypus is real. Well, yeah, maybe this half monkey, half fish mermaid is real also. So I think that helps to give a better understanding of the process of deciding what's real or not, what that might have been like in Barnum's museum. He was all about having people decide for themselves. And, you know, they paid 25 cents to get into the museum, and if they didn't like this hideous creature, they had thousands of other artifacts to look at. I hope you enjoyed this story of the centaur and the mermaid. I look forward to seeing you again at a future episode. And again, if you wouldn't mind subscribing to our YouTube channel, we'd love that. So see you next time. In the meantime, take care. Thanks.